Welcome to Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Expert advice on improving your home from remodeling contractor Danny Lipford and the home improvement pros from Today's Homeowner magazine.
Well, welcome to the show. Now, it really doesn't matter what kind of exterior you have on your home. There's a certain amount of maintenance that just has to be done in order to protect your investment. Now, if you have a siding like this, that's a hardboard siding, you may end up with problems like this, where the rain splashes back on the siding and causes some real deterioration. Well, we're going to replace this, but not with hardboard, with a fiber cement siding that matches the grain of the original siding, very comparable in cost, and it really holds paint very well. We'll show you how that's done, as well as some other common repairs that you may be encountering, such as water damage on your fascia or your soffit areas or around your windows and doors. And we'll show you some preventative measures to help you keep this from happening to your home. Stay with us. We've got some great information on how to protect the exterior of your home. Welcome back. You know, many times when homeowners have problems on their house like this, they think they have to replace all of the siding on the home. But actually, if you remove carefully all of the affected or damaged pieces of siding and replace those, that's all you really need to do. And you'd be surprised how from one home to the other, the damaged areas are in the same place. The bottom 2 or 3 runs of siding, or any area where water will splash against the house, maybe where a wood deck tightens up to a house, or let's say a chimney area where there's no overhang to protect it from the rain. Now, the first step here is to carefully remove that siding. We started by using a nail set to set all the nails on the pieces of siding above the ones we're removing. Then, using a handy flat bar, we pry all the damaged siding off the wall. Now, the important thing here is not to damage the siding above where you're working, because you'll have to replace it as well. Now, after removal, we discovered several areas of damaged sheathing. We measured up approximately 12 inches, popped a chalk line so that we could cut and remove the bad sheathing. Then we pulled all of the nails from all of the wall studs. Now, before we go any further, we take a little time to clean up all of the debris to make this job site a little safer. After that, we cut 12-inch strips from a sheet of 1/2-inch exterior plywood and nailed it in place. Now, for a vapor barrier, we're using regular roofing felt, which is a 15-pound builder's felt, tucking it under the siding above. Now, with the plywood and the vapor barrier should give us a good solid backing to nail our fiber cement siding to. Now, when most people think of fiber cement siding, they think of something that's just got to be very heavy. But actually, a piece that's 12 foot long like this weighs less than 10 pounds. Also, you may think of it as being very rigid, but as you can see, it's very flexible, easy to work with, very much like wood siding would be. And actually, the installation of it is the same as any other type of horizontal lap siding. First thing we did is to chalk a line that would not only keep the siding nice and level, but also would ensure that we're getting the same exposure as we have on the rest of the house. Now, of course, the nails we're using are a roofing nail that's about 1 3/4 inches long, so very traditional nail, and the large head on that is perfect for a siding like this. Now, we'll just start out. We'll butt it your way there, Ronnie, and get it right on the line. And then we'll just start out by nailing it and still trying to hit a stud that we have indicated on the top. Even though we have a solid backing to nail to, we still nail into the wall studs. Now, after this first full-length piece is up, we cut a piece to fit. Now, it's also a misconception about fiber cement siding that it's hard to cut, but with a quality circular saw and a good carbon tip blade, it cuts just about like wood. Of course, eye protection and a dust mask should always be used. We continue running the siding, including the use of the original aluminum joining clips so that it matches the rest of the house. Now, most of the nails are covered by the lapping of the siding, but we still face nail the siding as needed. Next, a little caulking at the corner boards, and we're ready to paint. Well, this repair project is pretty much complete. We're putting one coat of exterior latex on today and a second coat on tomorrow, which is what the siding manufacturer recommends. Now, if you think about it, all of this work only cost about $30 in materials if you do it yourself, so it's a very reasonable and easy repair to take care of on the exterior of your home. Now stay with us. After this simple solution, we'll show you the cure for several other common exterior maintenance problems.
Get ready to review your fix-it list as Danny and today's Homeowner Magazine repair and maintenance editor Joe Truini show you this week's simple solution. Brought to you by Dodge.
The next time you need to level out a garden bed, as I'm doing here, you can use a rake or a hoe, but a preferred tool is a screed. Now, if you don't own a screed, don't worry, most homeowners don't. It's a specialized tool used in the concrete industry, but you can make one simply enough out of a garden rake.
Now, Joe's homemade version here is actually made out of a 1x4, and he's attached it to the rake by using a piece of steel strapping, drilling through the 1x4, putting a bolt in, actually 4 bolts, and then using wing nuts to tighten it down. And because of it being a 1x4, it's nice and light and pretty easy to use.
Now, this tool can also be used not only for smoothing out soil, but also sand when you're making a brick and sand patio, or a mulch when you're putting in a new garden, and even concrete, wet concrete, when you're pouring a new walkway.
Now, it's important when you're making your homemade screed not to make it too long, because it can make for a very long day because of it being so heavy.
Another thing I wanted to show Danny is when you loosen up these wing nuts, you can pull the rake off for when you want to use it just as a rake. But don't take the nuts and bolts off, because you'll end up losing them, and next time you want to use it as a screed, you have to search for the parts. So leave them all together and just store it someplace where it's easily found.
I can see a number of ways this can be used, even say a gravel, where you're putting down some gravel or something like that. It really works well here on the garden.
Well, you're doing a great job, and I won't stop you now, so I'll catch up with you a little later.
Hey, where are you going? Now, you may think if you have a brick home like this one, all your maintenance troubles are over. For the most part, they are. But if you have a situation like this door unit where the door trim touches the bricks, there's always a potential for a little water damage, particularly down below where the brick mold and the door jamb go right down and touch the concrete slab. Now, what's happened on this door unit over the last 10 years, water's been able to sneak in and soak up into the end grain of both the brick mold and the door jamb, causing the water damage that you see. Now, the components of the door with the brick mold and door jamb are very easily available all over, but it can be very hard to replace a number of these pieces. Now, the brick mold's easy because it's on the outside, and we'll be replacing the outside brick mold. But the door jamb, we're going to use a little method here that's been used in the automobile industry for many years, and that's the use of an automobile filler. Now, it's been repackaged as a household all-purpose putty. It's a 2-part system, has the putty and the cream hardener. We'll show you how that works in a minute. First thing we need to do is to remove this piece of brick mold. First, we score the caulk joint between the bricks and the brick mold, then between the brick mold and the door jamb. We drive the nails through the brick mold with a nail set and then slowly pry the brick mold loose with a flat pry bar. We want to be careful not to damage the door jamb or move it out of alignment, because this would keep the door from closing properly. Now, with the molding removed, you can really see how extensive the damage was. We pull the remaining nails and cut the new molding to length. Now, this molding is a vinyl composite that won't be affected by moisture. Now, with the new molding in place, we pre-drill and nail it to the jamb. Now, with our brick mold in place, we can move ahead with the repair of the door jamb section. Now, the first thing I've done is just take a putty knife, try to clear out as much of the old water damage as I could, and then use an old paintbrush just to clean it out. Then, instead of trying to fill this large area with the repair putty, just taken some wire mesh here and kind of bunched it up, and what I'm going to do is just push it right in here and just kind of tap it in place. Then I'll use long screws like this just to give me something real substantial to apply the putty to. The actual screws themselves will help hold the putty in place. Unfortunately, we have a wall stud there that is still in good shape. Okay, now that I have that surfaced out, just kind of make sure the wires are back far enough. Then, to keep the putty from getting on the threshold, I'll use a little duct tape here, just to kind of act as, I guess, a little drop cloth, like that. And then we're ready to show you how we can use the putty, the two-part putty, to repair this problem. You need a nice, smooth, clean surface to mix the putty and cream hardener together. We're using a regular paper plate. Be sure to follow the directions for the proper amount of hardener. Now, once the compound is properly mixed, begin applying it to the area you're repairing. Now, you have to work it into the voids, and this can be a little messy, but as the material hardens, it begins to smooth out and hold its shape. Vertical surfaces may require a little more work to achieve the desired edge that you need, and even a second coat of putty sometimes. Now, this material really dries fast, so it only takes just a few minutes and you're ready to kind of touch it up with a little sandpaper. Got a sanding block, a little sandpaper, just to really smooth it out and get it ready to prime and paint as you would any repairs around the house. Also, I'll be using an acrylic caulking, latex caulking, to caulk between the new brick mold and the bricks to prevent any rain from sneaking in behind the brick mold and possibly affecting the rest of our jamb. Now, when we come back after this week's Best New Product, we'll show you several other common repairs around the home and several ways to prevent those costly repairs. Stay with us.
It's time to check out this week's Best New Product with Danny and today's Homeowner Magazine Editor-in-Chief, Paul Spring. Brought to you by the Home Depot.
Now, whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, we all get a little impatient on our home repairs, particularly if you're waiting for something to dry.
I'll tell you, the one that gets me is Spackling Drywall. The whole wall looks great except for that one place where the doorknob, created an impression in your wall. You put the spackle on and you wait for it to dry.
But the big question is, when do you know that it's dry? Because most spacklings, and there's so many out there, are white. So you put it on white, you never know when it's really dry, but that's why this is a Best New Product.
Well, Danny, that's the surprise inside the can. As you can see, it's pink.
Well, it really looks like cake icing more so than spackling.
It does. The reason it's pink is that when you put it on, it is that pink color. As it completely dries, then it turns white. That's your signal. You can sand it, then prime it, paint it, and you're all done.
Now, this is just like any other spackling. You use a spackling knife or a putty knife, and you apply it X pattern over any of the depressions that you may have so that you can use it just like regular spackling, but it has the indicator to tell you when to go to the next step.
It's also good interior or exterior, and again, it just goes on like a regular spackle. Runs less than $5 for a big tub like this, and I think you'll find it useful.
Now, another potential problem area on the exterior of your home is your soffit and fascia area, which makes up your overhang, this being the soffit, this being the fascia. Now, there's a number of reasons how this kind of damage can occur. Most of them is just a result of poor roof maintenance. But in this case, we've got a little flashing problem here where the lower flashing overlaps the upper flashing. Water's able to get down inside, and the result of the problem. Now, of course, most repairs like this start off the same way, by removing the damaged wood. The first piece of wood we remove is the bed mold. We use a razor knife to carefully score the caulking joint so that we can reuse this later. Also, make sure you're wearing safety glasses. With overhead work like this, debris can easily fall into your eyes. Once the damaged wood is removed, you can inspect the area more thoroughly for the cause of the damage and take steps to correct it. New soffit material can be cut with a circular saw, but if you have access to a table saw, you'll find the task can be done quicker and the cut is far more accurate. Be sure to prime both sides of the new soffit before installing it. The same suggestion applies to the new fascia. Completely sealing the wood on both sides with a quality primer is just an added measure of protection down the road. Once the new material is in place, all that's left is to caulk and apply the final coat of paint. Now, these homeowners decided to replace the damaged areas of their home with the exact same type of wood that was used in the original construction. But just like we looked at earlier in the show with replacing the hardboard siding with fiber cement, the same is available for almost any other area of your home. Now you can see a large sheet in front of me here that is fiber cement. Be perfect for the replacement of the soffit material. Here, 1x6, 1x4 sized material, perfect for fascia board replacement or any other type of trim that you may have. Now cost-wise, you're only going to spend just a little bit more for this material than you will actual wood. A sheet like this, about $1.50 more, and this type of material, about 20 cents a linear foot more, so you're really not talking about much extra cost. Now we've been talking almost the entire show about how to repair things around your home, but the right way is just to prevent it from happening right off of the start. And one way you can do that is in a situation like this roof damage or the soffit damage is to keep your roof free of any debris. Sweep or use a leaf blower to get rid of any pine straw or leaves that may accumulate that would prevent the rain from running directly off the roof. Also, go around the perimeter of your house on a regular basis and make sure you trim back any shrubs that may be pushing against the house. Even on a brick house, this will help to keep the moisture away from your home. Also, if you find any crack at all around your windows or doors, use a good quality caulking to seal up those cracks to prevent moisture from getting inside your walls or causing water damage on any of the trim pieces. Now, paint is the best way to really protect your home, and you never want to let your exterior of your house get to the point where you're seeing raw wood, so keep it painted regularly and consider combating the mildew problems that you may have in your area with adding a mildewcide to the paint itself. That can be added at the paint store or right out on the job. That'll really help that paint job last as long as it possibly can. Now, if you already have mildew on several areas of your home, it's very easy to clean off by using a solution of TSP, which is trisodium phosphate, available at any paint store, and household bleach mixed with water. Now, you can apply it to the problem areas using a regular garden sprayer or pump-up sprayer, or just a 5-gallon bucket and a brush. Once you apply it to these areas, scrub them off well, use a water hose to rinse it down, and this will ensure that you're getting the most life out of your paint job.
Now let's go outside for Around the Yard with Danny and lawn and garden expert Barbara Katz.
Now, the one thing I always hear about herbs is how they can really add to cooking.
Well, they're a fantastic thing for your cooking, but they're also fantastic for the garden, and they're fun to grow. You've got something like this here, which is the rosemary plant. You've got the whole family of sages, annual basil, the mints. The mints are very invasive, but they're great to use in your mint juleps.
Well, that's very important. Fragrance, there's really a lot of fragrance coming off of this rosemary.
That's right. The herbs get their fragrance and their use in cooking from their foliage for the most part. But there's another thing that that foliage also does. Where I'm from, we have a big deer problem. Deer are just eating all the landscapes. But one thing they don't like are herbs because of the sort of aromatic strength of the foliage. So you can use this as a barrier to protect other plantings. And they really will just leave the nice plants, the ones they love, alone.
Now, how about how hard is it to grow an herb garden? I mean, just what kind of elements do you really need to make it come together?
Not hard at all. What you really want is full sun. You need very good drainage. They're not going to be happy in soggy soil. And then you also want very lean soil. They don't like a lot of fertilization.
Okay, all right, so that sounds pretty simple. In order to improve my cooking, then all I need is, I guess, an herb garden.
Danny, I think you need a little bit more than that.
Now we've looked at repairing the outside of your home, preventative measures, as well as the importance of a good paint job. Don't forget about your exterior doors. What you need to do on a door like this is to apply a coat of stain and sealer, or if it's a painted door, a fresh coat of paint at least once a year. But don't forget about the most important part. Right along the bottom here, the bottom edge of the door needs to be sealed up. The way you can do it is to take a small piece of carpet, apply your paint or your sealer on the carpet, rub it on the bottom of the door. That'll seal it up and prevent any wicking of the moisture that can really mess up a door. I'm Danny Lipford, and we'll see you next week here on Today's Homeowner.